And I think we can start, and everybody who is joining can go along the way. So welcome everybody to this webinar on employer branding right before the summer. This is our last webinar before the summer break. So I have my colleagues, Emily and Ines, who will be answering all your questions that you might have. So feel free to, along the webinar, put questions in the Q&A, and then they will reach out and answer them as much as possible. So what are we going to talk today about? We're going to look at what your employer brand is, why your career site matters, and some Teamtailor features and practical tips. So I want to start with a little bit of a maybe controversial statement about what is your employer branding. So your employer brand is not what HR, marketing, or maybe your management say it is, because employer branding is not something that you can fully control. Rather, your employer brand is what your employees and your candidates, how they perceive you as a potential employer. That means that you don't have full control over your employer brand, but you can influence your employer brand. So you can influence your employer brand just like marketing influences how customers see your product or your service. You can influence how candidates perceive you as a company and as a potential next employer. And the career site is one of your most important tools to do so. So your career site is very important. And why is your career site so important? Well, a recent or 2020 survey found that 70% of candidates list the career site website as most important source of information about a potential employer, even more than job boards or social media. And about 28% of candidates say they don't even apply when there's no or a poor career site. And even 50% of the candidates say that a clear mission or purpose on the site heavily influences whether they apply. So you can imagine that your career site is very important in all of these statistics, because it gives you an opportunity to speak directly to the candidate and kind of showcase yourself as a great next employer and why they should apply to your job vacancies rather than to anywhere else. And we at Teamtailor, we also have a career site mindset, so to say, because of course we're in ATS, but we're also a career site provider in that sense, that we make the design of your career site as easy as possible so that you can focus on the content and you can focus on getting nice pictures, videos, text, all that lovely stuff on your career site in an easy and fast way. And one thing that I also want to highlight here is that your career site is like a storefront. Every now and then, you need to kind of give it a new look so that people who pass by actually stop and maybe dig a little bit deeper in your career site. So perhaps that is a great timing now with the summer coming up. Hopefully you have maybe some extra time on your hands and you can have another look at your career site. Especially if you have been a Teamtailor customer for a while and you have done your career site when you did your onboarding, maybe now it's time to have another look at it and maybe give it a facelift. So now I want to dive into a demo career site that I've made for today to kind of show you what is possible and show you some of the blocks that I've used to build this career site as kind of inspiration for today. This is, of course, kind of my advice. Every brand and every company might have a different tone of voice or a different style. But here in this webinar, I mainly want to show you what is possible and how I've done it. So let's dive in. So we are here at in Teamtailor at the Content tab. I hope this is familiar for many of you. And here you can see all the pages that your career site has. If you click on the segments, you get a nice menu on the right with the type of pages to quickly navigate to the different areas. You also can set up your connect here, which we will look at later, and your global design. If you've not done your global design, which is your color and your logo, I highly recommend starting there. But for today, we're going to dive into the pages and the different blocks. So I want to start at the home page because I think this is your most important page, as most candidates will land there first. So this is really for you an opportunity to grab their attention and pull them into your career site and have them read and see as much as possible. So this company is a technology company, and they have this career site that I've built here. So as you see on the right, we have the preview of the website, and on the left you have the jobs that I've used to build this. So it starts with a cover, like most Teamtailor career sites do, and I've chosen here for a video because videos, they grab a lot more attention from the start. So if you have not added the video as your cover, that's one of the first things I would recommend you do. One thing that you will notice throughout this webinar and throughout this career site is that I focus a lot on people. I think your employer brand is a lot about your employees. In the end, people apply to jobs and they're going to work with colleagues, and the people around them is going to kind of make or break their job experience in a large part. So focusing on the people that actually work at your company can really showcase the culture and the atmosphere that there is in the office or online. So apart from the cover, which has a nice headline, the call to action buttons, we can go down and we can watch what else is there. So we started with 2 text blocks, simple text block with like a title and a subtitle and a body, and a text block with a title and subtitle at the right and an image on the left. So if you click on a block, you can see that some blocks, they have multiple layouts. Not all blocks, but most blocks do. And with these multiple layouts, you can kind of decide what works best in your case with your design to showcase the story you want to tell. And what I'm kind of want to demonstrate here is that you can have multiple text block in a row as well. You can use like the title from one text block and then the image and a side title from the next text block. And you can kind of combine them in a way that fits you best. And when we scroll down, we have a list in this case, and this company wants to kind of show what they have to offer quite early on in their website. They want to focus on what are the benefits for the candidate. And here there's kind of 2 different options that you have. You can use a perks and benefits job, which kind of describes what you're doing, but you could also use a list block. Personally, I like the list block because the list block has multiple layouts that you can choose from. So you can not only use this one with the icons, but also one with pictures or a simple one. Whereas the perks and benefit, it kind of describes exactly what it is, but it only has one layout. So it can be useful, but if you like that layout, but if you want a bit more variety, go for the list block. And this is another important point that I want to make and that I sometimes see going wrong, is that you don't need to focus necessarily on the name of the block, but you can rather focus on, okay, what kind of layout do I want? So at the bottom left, you have the block library. Hopefully you've already gone through this one or you know a little bit about it. But you can basically explore this and you can click on any kind of block that you want, let's say like an image, and then you get the different layouts. And some of them, such as the perks and benefits, they have only one layout and they can only be used once on a career page. But it's not necessary that you only use that. So you could, for example, use the list one in this case. So that's something that a little tip that I want to give along. Next, I've used an FAQ. FAQ, frequently asked questions, is great for frequently asked questions, but it's also great for other things. So it's kind of nice to hide a lot of text behind a single line so that your career site doesn't get too long. So also people who are, for example, on tablet or mobile, they don't need to scroll too long. So here I've pointed out 3 main points that is important for candidates to know, like launch your career with this company or the culture or the benefits. And then when the candidate clicks on it, they expand and they can read more about it. So it's a nice visual trick to hide a lot of text behind a single line without making your website too long and too kind of clunky. So yeah, I can recommend using that. Then we have a titled link block. Also very interesting block, I think, and very versatile for many different ways. So here I've actually used it as a list of departments to show the departments, because there is, of course, a department block, but also that one has one layout. And in this case, I wanted to have a layout where each block kind of like department is touching each other with the pictures, a lot of focus on people, like I said. And in this way, I feel like it looks a lot nicer. The department block automatically links to your department pages whenever you publish them, and the titled link doesn't. So in this case, you would need to go and grab the link for that page and add it here in the URL. But once you've done that, you have more options between the different layouts in a titled link. So you will see this block, yeah, that I use it a lot because I think it's very versatile and it makes your career site stand out more visually. And then each of these are like clickable, so they have also a little animation when you hover over them. And then I have some numbers, always nice to add to break up all the text and have a little bit of animation on your website. You can use employees, countries, something funny like office dogs or whatever you want to use, basically. But I would definitely recommend to do that. And then we have the jobs list, which of course super important because in the end you want candidates to apply. And here you can see there are 6 jobs that are being previewed. I use the version where they can see the image as well, because I think it just looks a little bit nicer and it draws people in a little bit more. This is just the preview jobs, because if you have more than 9 jobs, they don't all appear here. That's why there's an all jobs button that links to the job page. Then I've used a workplace and culture block, which is a block with text on the left and multiple images on the right, which is nice for some variety as well. And I focused a lot on like employee spotlight after the jobs to dive a little bit more into the employees as ambassadors of your company. Which brings me perfectly to the next one, which is like the title and link again, but now with a different layout. So here we have 3 testimonials that I've created as blogs, which I will show you in a little bit. And each of these stories tells a little bit about an employee that works at this company. And then I finished off with a people's blog where I showcase the recruiters of this company so that the people who are going to apply already have like a face to the name. So yeah, that's an example of a homepage. Like I said, there's many different pages that you can do, and we can't go through all of them today, but I just wanted to highlight a few different things on different pages. So after the homepage, your job page is probably the most important one. And here what I see is that sometimes companies are kind of missing to add some extra blocks to this. So of course you have your jobs blog with all the lists and the map, but you can also add like a little, header, like a call to action. And at the bottom, which I think is very nice, you can add a call to action for people to connect. Because as you know, in Teamtailor, candidates can connect with your website, which then will lead them to have a connect portal and get job alerts. So perhaps this candidate didn't find the job that they were looking for, but they still find your company interesting. So then you can kind of lead them to connect with you. And in this case, I used a hero image for that because I think it looks visually quite nice. And the call to action button, connect with us. Other pages you can have, such as department and locations. That's like a nice overview if you're going to highlight each department in its own page. I, for example, made a department page for our customer support of this company, where you can dive a little bit deeper into what it is that your vision is around this department. Maybe you have a specific way of supporting customers, if it's on the phone or via chat, and you want to highlight that because that matters a lot for someone who might apply. These department pages automatically have the jobs that are related to that department in the jobs block. And you also have the option to quickly connect with support in this case as well. So they can be great landing pages for campaigns that you run, for example, on social media. And then I've also created some blank pages. So when you click the plus button, you can create a blank page, which will end up in your miscellaneous. And I think 2 pages that almost every career site should have is one about the recruitment process and one about us. So the recruitment process page showcases with a timeline block how a recruitment at this company is going to go. So it's step 1 is applying, and then we have a few different steps such as a chat, a deep dive interview, a team meeting, and a decision, so that the candidate also knows what to expect. Maybe they're also in other job processes that are kind of closing down, but they prefer your company. Then it's good to know where in the process they might be. And this also allows you to add and frequently ask questions on that page, so you can kind of take away some of the maybe administration work of you answering the same question over and over again. So I can highly recommend this page. It's very much appreciated by candidates as well. And then the other page I was mentioning is the About Us page. And here you can really deep dive a little bit more into your culture, your vision and mission. So in this case, I have added a video block because I think videos are very much underestimated in career sites. So if you have the resources, I would highly recommend making videos. This can be like sitting down with an employee and interviewing them, or showcasing your company event or a product launch, or anything that you think might be interesting for potential candidates. So here we have some videos in a video block, which also has different layouts. I picked a layout for multiple videos. And then we have some copy and our values. Again, with this list block that showcases it with different emojis. Like I said in the beginning, 50% of candidates are looking for values, for example, on career sites, according to that study. So it might be very important to actually showcase what you stand for as a company. And yeah, you can also really get creative with this. You can add numbers, for example, which is a very interesting block if you want to showcase some of your, for example, demographics in the company when it comes to diversity. That's a very interesting one. You can add more pictures, of course, or the people's block, things like that. This can be very helpful. And now I want to showcase the testimonials that I mentioned earlier. So on the homepage, we had this Thailand link with the 3 different people. They are posts. And the different posts, so for example, we have here Steve's story. And if I preview that, you can see here that we have Steve's story as a testimonial. So we did an interview with Steve, for example, and we wrote down everything that he had to say about working at this company. This is, of course, a little bit more of a deep dive, and not every candidate is going to read this, but that's why it's great to have it as like a blog, because it's also going to be good for your SEO, your search engine optimization, to be findable on Google. But it can also be great if you, for example, have someone who is going to apply to, in this case, a developer position, to already showcase like, hey, we have this story of Steve, who is a great developer and who loves it here. So I can definitely recommend also using that blog feature. You can also use it for other things, such as maybe you have an event coming up and you want to write about that, or you want to share about your company trip or things like this. And then lastly, we have campaign pages. And campaign pages, we have 2 different ones that are quite distinct. So first of all, when you click the plus, campaign, standard or lead, the difference is that a lead page, like the one on the left, is meant to just get a phone or email from this candidate. So in this case, I'm going to an event for developers, and all I want to do is get as many emails as possible so that later then I can run a campaign and convert them to applicants. If you want more than an email, then you would set up like a job application form, a simple one, and use that. But if you just want to get leads, you can create a simple leads page. It's like a one pager, and you can add some information on the left and like a call to action on the right. The other page is a standard campaign page, and this is meant for if you want to run a campaign for like a specific demographic of your candidates, for example. So in this case, we have a campaign around getting more women in tech to apply. So we've created this page with different images, such as the hero image, call to action, a text block and a list block, and then a jobs block. And then, for example, testimonials. So about women that already work in the tech team. You can then use this page as like a landing page for your campaigns on social media or in the offline world as well. So this really allows you to create different landing pages for different demographics because you want to speak to them in a different way or you want to share different information with them. So the campaigns can be very, very powerful. So those were the different pages that you can have in Teamtailor. Of course, there's endless possibilities of you adding other things as well. But I also wanted to take some time to look at the Connect. So Connect is quite unique for Teamtailor. And when you click on that, you can see that this Connect environment that a candidate gets in when they apply to, when they connect to all departments, all roles in this case. There's this little icon where you can select the department and role. And in this case, we have a lot of candidates that are connecting with our technology department because there we have basically not enough jobs and too many candidates that want to be connected and stay in the loop. So I click on that, and then you can see that it already changes. So we can build different Connect environments for different departments. And in that, you can add different things. So you can add a cover, a welcome message, different questions. Questions can be very powerful because maybe people connect and they end up in your talent pool. But by asking the right questions, you can also make your sourcing easier. So 2 questions I've added here is like, what's your favorite software? And what tech problem are you most proud of fixing and why? To give the candidate a chance to show themselves a little bit more. But I've also added content. So here in Noteworthy, I've added a few different videos of our Teamtailor podcast in this case. Maybe you have your own podcast, or maybe you have a video about your company event or things like that. Or you have pictures of the office, of the team. And you can really see this maybe as like the space in between a fully published website, which is public for everybody, and like an internal job board or a portal, like an intranet. This is kind of in between because it is accessible for those candidates, but not publicly for the whole world. So maybe you can share a little bit more about your culture and etc. You can also automatically see which jobs are related to this department and the post that we made about the 2 different testimonials. Then lastly, I want to showcase a feature in Teamtailor on the job ad, which is called candidate interaction, specifically the video feature of that. So if you have not added this yet, you can go to your workspace, add on features, and find candidate interaction. Make sure that it's activated. When it's activated, you can go to a job and you can edit the job. And then you see this candidate interaction on the left. So what is this? This is basically a chat function where a candidate can leave a question that they have about a certain job, and they would leave their email, and then they basically come as a lead into your platform, and then you can reply to them in an email to answer their question. So you can kind of make the barrier very low for candidates to ask about a certain job. Secondly, you can also attach a short video presenter to this job, as you can see here in the demo, where maybe you speak directly to the candidate and say like, hey, we would love to hear from you. We have this job opening. Kind of make it personal. Make it also a vertical video format, which a lot of candidates are used to nowadays from YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And in this way, you can kind of, in a modern way, speak to a candidate and really leave an impression. So we've added that here now. Let's have a look how that looks like. So for this customer support agent, we have this video popping up on the right. It's muted, but I can unmute it right there. And I can also chat. So I can say like, hey, I wonder when this job starts, for example. And then I should also leave my email address there. So this is a nice way. You can have this on job level, but also on the whole career side, for example. So that were all the features and things that I wanted to show today. We are going to stay open a little bit longer to answer all your questions that you might have in the chat. And I hope you take away something from this. And I hope you have some time over the summer to have a look at your career site and see if there's anything that you want to update or change and give it another look. Maybe add some new pages. That can be interesting. It's all possible.